Welcome to Vital MTB's 2022 short travel test session. In recent years, the line between cross-country and trail bikes has begun to blur as World Cup cross-country racing has steadily moved towards more aggressive and technical courses, while everyday riders are looking for bikes that fly up climbs and provide a comfortable, stable, and fun experience on the way back down. While they aren't quite Exie race bikes, they also aren't exactly trail bikes. So what are they? Eager to see what all the hype is about with these short travel, ride everything mountain bikes, we brought together 4 pedal-hungry and downhill-capable bikes to see how they perform across various terrain. Our goal was simple: find out where this exciting new category of mountain bike shines, what unique features set them apart, and ultimately help riders discover which bike would best complement their trails and preferences. In this video, we'll discuss the performance of Ibis's Exie. To read the full review, head to vitalmtb.com. Finishing things off with the shortest travel bike of them all, Ibis's Exie performed like a cross-country bike on steroids. With 100mm of rear-wheel travel paired with a 120mm fork, the Exie had the least amount of travel matched with the steepest geometry. However, we were pleasantly surprised to find out that you can't always judge a bike solely by its head angle and shock size. Manufactured in Ibis's Santa Cruz, California facility, the handmade sub-2,000 gram frame is truly a piece of art, representing Ibis's commitment to evolving their carbon processes. The Exie features balanced geometry, allowing the bike to perform well across varying terrain. Instead of using a longer stem as you would find on most cross-country bikes, the Exie uses a 50mm stem paired with the longer reach and taller handlebars. This decision alone places riders in an attack position, improving stability and confidence descending. At 74.8 degrees, the seat angle is slacker than most bikes in this travel range, while the head tube angle, at 67.2 degrees, was the steepest in the test. The Exie was the lightest bike by over 1.5 pounds at 25.7 pounds, but also carried the most expensive price tag, at $7,999 for the entry-level XT build. The build consists of a Fox 34 step-cast factory fork, Fox Float DPS shock, Shimano XT 12-speed drivetrain, Shimano XT 2-piston brakes, and Ibis's 933 aluminum wheels with Maxxis Recon race tires.
This bike is also an outlier in terms of price. It's $8,000, but it's also the base model that they offer. So when you consider these other bikes and the changes that can be made in terms of efficiency and just general spec and fit, it's going to be very difficult to really shore that up without actually considering the other factors that might not matter to somebody, such as where it's made and the quality and the long-term durability of everything, from those pivots and all this different stuff. I mean, up front, I would have a hard time spending $2,000 more, but down the road, it might be worth it to somebody. It's such an outlier in terms of price that it did muddy the waters with the other ones in terms of just like what could be done with this set as that benchmark in price.
Hitting the trails with our expectations set lower than the other bikes, the Exie proved to be a more capable descender than it looked on paper. Sure, the bottom bracket did feel a tad high, and the steeper head tube angle limited confidence in steep or technical sections, but overall, the Exie was lightning fast and incredibly fun.
I probably had the most fun on this bike, especially on the trails here locally. I was sliding all over the place, and it's not a bike that I would want to just go out and dilly-daddle around. It wants to go fast, and with a capable rider, I could see this being a weapon, especially in certain scenarios.
So I wasn't the fastest on the Exie during our time descent that we did, but I will say I probably had the most fun on this bike descending throughout the week. And I think a lot of that is that even though it's the lowest on travel, it made a lot of trails that I've ridden like countless times a lot more exciting. It made me ride much more precise, and it let me know when I wasn't online as much, but that was kind of like the allure of trying to go fast on the bike. It made it more exciting. It made it feel like I was going a lot faster because you're feeling mistakes you make and feeling the bumps that you're hitting. On flat, rolling terrain, the Exie rose above the rest, highlighted by its ability to maintain speed with little rider input thanks to its minimalistic tires, stiff frame, and firm suspension. The low weight gave the bike a lively personality that promoted popping between lines, skipping over rocks, and hitting trailside jumps. However, unlike the other bikes that allowed us to load up the suspension and pump speed out of trails, the Exie was less responsive to rider input simply due to its lack of travel. Regardless, we carried an equal or higher average speed due to the low weight and efficiency of the bike.
I kind of liked how the bike would just break free and, you know, slide. But it was light enough that I could place it down the trail anywhere that I pleased. So it was, you know, I guess you could say it was sketchy, but it was also nimble enough that I was able to get out of situations that could have gone awry.
When trails became rougher, the Exie attacked descents harder than most 100mm travel bikes, but took more effort to stay on trail, and the margin for error was smaller than the rest of the bikes. Big compressions were quite jarring, and we had to select our lines with the utmost precision to carry speed and maintain composure.
For me, there wasn't a whole lot of room for error. Like when you start getting kicked offline, you get kicked offline quick, so it wasn't terribly forgiving.
When we did execute our lines and held on through the rubble, the Exie rewarded us with an exciting and fast ride. One of the main reasons we felt so confident attacking descents with more intensity than we typically would on a cross-country bike was because of the Exie's descent-focused cockpit and 185mm bike yoke dropper post. The 30mm rise Ibis carbon handlebars and 50mm long Industry 9 stem placed our body weight comfortably centered over the Exie, while the long dropper and short standover made it easy to shift our weight back. With lots of freedom to move within the bike, we could precisely place our weight in corners to maximize traction or lean back in technical bits to improve stability and control. On the flip side, the biggest limiting factor that held the Exie back was the Maxxis Recon Race tires that lacked adequate traction. For a bike that can hold its own on descents, the tires did not complement the bike's abilities and single-handedly kept us from reaching the Exie's top speed. More aggressive tires would be an obvious upgrade that we can only imagine would drastically improve cornering confidence and stopping control. On top of having to tiptoe around corners due to the gripless tires, the 160mm rotor failed to offer the bite and stopping power needed to slow down the Exie. The weight difference between 160 and 180mm rotor is slim, but the performance is noticeable. With a larger rotor out back, the Exie would descend faster by not having to drag the brakes as often to maintain composure. Unsurprisingly, the Exie pedaled phenomenally. Just tossing a leg over the bike screamed climbing dominance. The low weight and minimal rolling resistance paid dividends going uphill, requiring substantially less effort to punch up climbs. Each pedal stroke seemed to take us further, and we completed test loops faster and with more energy remaining.
Well, no surprise, the Ibis Exie was the #1 climber, and for me it was a significant margin. I think it was because when fully locked out, it was absolutely rigid. Then that tire combo just made for practically zero rolling resistance.
So I do like the efficiency of the bike, but it was the least comfortable of all the bikes. So the seated position was great. But it was fairly stiff. I mean, it doesn't have a whole lot of travel in general. The frame is stiff, and there's only so much you can do with that. So it's kind of in that place where like other bikes would probably be more comfortable in the long run for something that, you know, you want to take out in the backcountry. But for somebody that wants to just rip with his friends after work or go do a race, this thing would be fantastic.
Engaging the Exie suspension lockout was more intuitive than the Spark's twin lock lever.
You know, the lockout and the unlockout, and there's some clear separation. With the Scott, it's all like one piece, and if you're just like off slightly, your seat's dropping instead of locking out.
However, we hardly used it because the DW Link suspension design was almost unaffected by pedaling forces and still offered great traction and comfort.
So as climbing is concerned, with it locked out, I did find it uncomfortable, but it didn't need it. Of the bikes, the suspension was really efficient, and when it was not locked out, there was plenty of traction. You know, the DW Link, I've had other bikes like that in the past, and it just works really well.
So what's the bottom line on Ibis's Exie?
I feel that this is geared towards either somebody who has been a long time cross-country racer or somebody who just likes to ride long distances.
All right, who is the Exie for? I would say this is for maybe the person who's ridden cross-country bikes most and is looking to get a bike that's a bit more aggressive without committing to getting like a trail bike, right? It's still low on travel, but it has geometry that kind of blurs the lines and makes it a lot more comfortable to descend on. You know, it has a longer dropper that gets out of the way on descents, but it's still a bike that carries incredible speed. You're not going to notice a huge lack of efficiency really compared to most cross-country race bikes on the climbs. And yeah, I think for even somebody like myself who's maybe used to riding enduro bikes, like I'll be able to get on that and it'll probably surprise me, it'll probably scare me some, but it's going to be a ton of fun. The Exie offers a unique proposition to riders seeking a pedal-dominant bike but wanting extra safety and composure on descents. If we had to pick a bike to tackle massive climbs, we would pick the Exie every time. The bike makes climbs you usually dread feel like a breeze and will leave extra gas in your tank, allowing you to ride further, faster. Once pointed downhill, the Exie is truly impressive, fostering confidence unlike many cross-country bikes can do. Precise, fast, efficient, and stable, the Exie flies across moderate terrain. However, in more challenging and rough situations, the Exie will let you push its limits, but get ready to hold on for an exciting ride as there isn't much room for error. For a more in-depth analysis of Ibis's Exie, please head to vitalmtb.com for the complete review. And to check out our complete short travel test session, click the link at the end of this video. Thanks for watching.